Greetings, dear ones. I'm Cryon of Magnetic Service. This is the fourth week of a message that I have given 3 other times. And this one is slightly different, but it contains that same magical, wonderful, new message that I have given before. There is something on this planet that is new. It's your imprint. It's the esoteric imprint that you now have as you sit there or stand there that's different. We call it the power of life. It's new because of the enhancements of that which is the shift, and also the enhancements within your own DNA that we have discussed before. This has created a human being with a greater impact on the planet than ever before. So you just standing there walking around on the planet has a far greater esoteric, spiritual, beautiful impact and potential than it's ever had before. Combine this with something else. There is something, the energy of the light that you carry now is much different than 20 years ago. Because the light itself has been enhanced. Now, this is a metaphor for an enhancement of all that you can then expose with light. An awakening, you might say. But it also has to do with that which we've spoken of before, being a lighthouse. In other words, you being on the planet right now, alive. You with this light that you have right now, as an old soul. You become a way shower, but not just for others. We've spoken of your impact for yourself and what you can do. We've spoken of the impact that you have of Gaia itself. We've spoken of your mastery. This has many elements to it, this enhanced life force, you might say. Can you imagine this? That the old souls of this planet suddenly have a greater impact on the planet than ever before. This then will give credibility to what I said many years ago, that less than 0.5% of this Earth's population has to awaken in order to change the planet completely. And that's because those who are awakening have a greater impact. And what happens next is they shine more light for the others. It's no greater metaphor than that. And we have said this before. You take a dark room where you can barely see, and 1 or 2 light a match, and the room becomes a little more illuminated, and others will say, where did the light come from? Oh, I see they have a match. How can I have a match? And so they realize that they can, and they find out how. And they start to light their own, and then the room becomes far, far more lighted, more lit. Only a few have to light their matches for the entire group in the room to see. And that is what's happening on this planet. Attitudes are changing. Did you notice? We also have said it now 3 other times. The dark is darker, the light is lighter. And you're starting to see the reaction to the light that you've been creating. I want to tell you one of the things that you can do that fits in right now with everything that this particular program is about. What if this new power of life and this new enhanced energy of light, what if this then changed your abilities within yourself, within your cellular structure, to heal yourself? What if this final program of this series, and I've waited till the last for the best, wraps itself up with everything I have taught for 31 years, for 32 years, for 33 years, on and on. What if it's about talking to your cellular structure with your own consciousness and being able to heal yourself? What if this was the final revelation of that? And when I say final, I mean that it wraps it up into a package of what I meant back then when I started talking to so many about how you could heal yourselves by actually speaking to your own cellular structure with your own consciousness and being the boss. Here it is. Here is the moment that I've waited for to give you this information. Now you know why. You can. This particular life force lends itself specifically to this self-healing, where you can look at your own structure, your own life, and you can look inside. And you can say to all the chemistry, you're not apart from me, you are me. Your consciousness, something apart from your brain, has a divine aspect to it. Your consciousness has a divinity to it. Your consciousness has not been developed from the synapse of memories in your brain. Oh, it's greater than that. This comes right from your soul, dear ones. This can be argued even in medical circles. Can enough circuits of synapse in your brain create a consciousness? It's been argued for years. The reason it's argued because even those in medical will look at it and go, no, it's beyond that. Consciousness is divine. It's that which lets you decide what you want to be, who you want to be, what you want your light to be or not to be. Now I'm telling you that that consciousness is being seen by your chemistry as the boss. And when you start addressing your chemistry in positive ways as the boss, a beloved boss, a wonderful boss, one who cares about every molecule, but that says, here's what I want, here's what you're doing, here's what we will do together. That means you control your life's health, your life's healing. That means you control the reality that you would call your health every single day. But you have to let your cellular structure know you're there, dear ones, because it's always waiting for instructions. And we've told you that before. So all the chemistry in your body has antennas, you might say, waiting for your words. If you don't speak them, this body of yours will simply go on its own, do its best on its own without any instructions at all. Dis-ease is part of that. But you can be the solution by speaking every single day to your cellular structure and telling it what's next and what you want, just as you might give marching orders to an army, which direction to go and how to behave. And that is the greatest truth I would ever have for you, human being, that I've ever given. It'll extend your life. It'll create wonderful recovery to anything that perhaps you're experiencing right now that you think might be negative. It allows you to turn around things you didn't think could be turned around, situations that you thought were one way and were not. Great healing is yours right now. What can I say to you that would be any grander than that? You have a new life force. It's enhanced. Do you feel it? Did you think perhaps something was up, as they say? There is a difference in you. You're not imagining it. Many of you have asked that. What do I feel that is different? What am I missing? Some of you have said. It's a human nature also to say, what's wrong? When you feel something different. Nothing is wrong. You're starting to feel the enhancement that is your legacy to be here. You deserve to be here. You deserve to be healthy and live a lot longer than some have told you you will. This is a beautiful time of introspection, realization. It also means that your prayers for others do more than ever before. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about those who need you right now on this planet who are suffering? Or perhaps the grief that might be there from all the things that are taking place right now. You can enhance that with your compassionate action. This group I'm talking to now is so powerful. So powerful. Take a moment and do that as well. And feel that energy go to those faraway lands perhaps. Or maybe they're not far away. Maybe you're sitting right in them. You can do so much more today than you've ever done before. Oh, enhanced human being with greater life force and light to light this planet up and create peace for others, for yourself, for your partnership with Gaia, for your own healing. I'm Kryon. I would not tell you these things if they were not so. And we have told you these things so many times before, but now you realize why. I'm Kryon, in love with human. Every human. I know all of you who are watching and listening. I know you. Because I stand on the other side of the veil with your souls right now. I know you so intimately. I know those who will take action and those who are still scratching their head wondering if any of this is really true. It's all true, dear ones. Give it a try. You might make the statement, I am larger than I thought I was in the energy of divineness on this planet. And therefore, I can do things that I was never told I could do. I'm ready. In love with humanity, I am. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. For they wanted to know some of the basics of what I'm about to say. But there's a reason for the subject that I will give you in a moment. Because it is germane, that is to say, it is specific to what is happening on the planet right now. It is specific to you moving in to another year. And I want to talk to you about energies. What I want to say is that the energies I speak of are often controversial because they represent systems, ancient ones. And they represent things that some believe and some do not. And so I just want you to sit and listen and understand more fully about some things that probably have not been explained fully to you. A reason exists for all of this, as you will see. I want to talk tonight about numerology. And I want to start with the premise. I want to continue with the definitions. I want to tell you about the numbers. I want to tell you how it exists with this, the shift, what it means and what it might not mean. Numerology, defined as the name, is the energy of numbers. It's simple. Numbers have energy. Now, if you say that to some people, they will look at you, roll their eyes, and say, "Not in my world." Numbers are simply numbers. They denote things, and that's all. They come together for calculation, that's all. Numerology is ancient, and I want to start by apologizing to numerologists. For there are many kinds of numerology, and even the kind that I'm going to give you is extremely complex, and I only am going to give you the basics. And we're going to start with the most ancient that you can find on the planet, that is still a system that is taught. And that will be the Tibetan. But the premise is still difficult for some. How can a number mean something? How can it be anything but ink on a page or a spoken word? And if you start thinking about it, every time you see a number, it's normally part of a communication. Whether it's a calculation or perhaps it denotes a position. If you see something that is page 30, there's a message. Imagine a book with no page numbers. It would be chaotic, for you'd never be able to return to the page that you were reading without some other kind of marker. And so numbers are placed in the book. Doesn't that tell you that the number has a message? The energy of the number of a page says this is the page where things have occurred that are on the page. Not only that, there's a page before me and a page after me that have different numbers. That number on the page then tells a story. And in the story, there's energy. Now, this is just one tiny example of how a number would have a message. How a number would tell a story and not just sit there and be a number. This is the basis for generic numerology. That at the simplest way, numbers contain energies that are definable. So much so that you could derive a number and it will tell you a story. Much like the book and the page number. There are generic meanings for numbers. Now, the one that I'm going to give you right now, that I've never given you in channel to this way, will define the simplest of numbers and what they mean. But before even I do that, I will tell you that numerology exists in some systems you would never even think had anything to do with numbers. Have you talked to anyone who can read tea leaves? What are they reading? It's a combination of patterns, but more specific numbers. For you read the edges or the amount, and you derive a meaning based upon the numbers. You might have heard of those who cast the stones. What are they reading in the stones? Let me tell you a secret. They're counting sides like you would dice. And they derive a number. And the number then means something. So numerology has many faces. The ancient numerology, that is the simplest, is what we're going to describe. The simplest kind would be 1 through 9. Now, as I tell you the definitions of 1 through 9 as the Tibetans see them, I will also tell you that there are extensions to everything I'm going to describe. And the extensions are the complexity that we will not talk about. Not only that, it seems that we've left out a zero. There are meanings for the zeros, but they have to occur later in a more complex system for you to see why they would exist at all. So let's describe 1 through 9. Then let's take a look at the age that you're in. Let's take a look at the years that you're in. Let's take a look at some of the names that are surrounding you. And let us see whether there's a confluence of ideas that might be similar, based only on the numbers. There are those who will take an alphabet and assign numbers to the letters. And it won't matter what kind of alphabet, because the basis of numerology would seem to be chance. And yet there is no such thing as chance when it comes to that which is the soul on this planet. Through free choice, dear ones, you can create whatever you want to. But if you pay attention to that which is already here in the physics, in the numbers, in the colors, in the feelings, in the grids, in Gaia, it all comes together for you. And so systems are everywhere. If you take an alphabet and you assign a number to every letter, then you take your name and add up those numbers, you'll receive an answer. And the answer is an energy that is around you. And you might say, well, that's chance. And it is not. It is not chance even how you were named. We have discussed potentials. And even in this session, we have talked about the fact that there really is very little chance if you are plugged in to that which is the metaphysics of the planet. Let's look at this. Number one. Number one is basically new beginnings. It's the beginning of something. It is the rewriting. It is the reframing. It means new. It is the first number. That's easy. In fact, all of the numbers are easy, and you can remember them. At their most basic, they're easy. Then it gets more complex. Number two is duality. It also responds to free choice. So if you get a number 2 around something, it tells you that it's going to be filled with decisions. The duality will exist, making it perhaps a more difficult puzzle. Number 2 is all filled with human free choice. Number 3 is a catalytic number. If you get a number 3 around something, you know that the energy moves other things without changing itself. It is therefore a catalyst. Many healers, many teachers will have 3s around them constantly. Some have mistook this for spiritual system 3s, which also exist. You have one in your own, you say, system of spirituality that is this culture. You split God into 3 parts. That is a catalytic number, because the 3 parts then move other things. A healer with a 3 around them would be somebody who exists without changing, and everyone who passes through their life changes. That's the 3. The 4 is an earth number. It is community. It is Gaia. It is more things than you can define, but it is the grounded number. You'll have lots of farmers. There'll be 4s. Interesting how the 4 has crept in even to social things. The 4-H club. Those who are ranchers dealing with animals, lots of 4s everywhere. That is the energy of the 4. 5 is change, raw change. When you see a 5 around something, it means that the energy of the situation or the place or the address or the year is change. Now there are those already, only with 5 numbers, who'd said, I don't really agree with any of this. I could live my life without knowing these things. And you're right, because you have free choice. You can just steamroll right over all of them. And they won't affect you, not really, because you are your own number. You're the number of obstinance. You are the number that steamrolls over other numbers. That is the free choice you have. You don't have to believe in these things, and they won't affect you, not really, because you will then steamroll through them. Brian, you mean that if I get a number of change in something, it won't affect me with change? This is difficult to explain, dear one. If you don't believe it and you don't cognize it, that is to say, it is not something that is your reality and your truth, it won't affect you near as much. No, it won't. Because you are almost in another paradigm of your own. My partner was in this way until I met him. He believed none of these things, was sensitive to nothing. And so numbers to him simply were numbers. And he'd be then like we're describing. But if you understand these things and you're part of the system, and with free choice, you cognize this, you can find out so many things. Because then you are on board and sensitive to what the metaphysics is of the planet. Number 6, difficult. It is a spiritual number, a high one. But it really truly means harmony. So the energy of the 6 is that of harmony. As you can see, some of these numbers would be wonderful to have as an underlying address, for instance, of where you are or where you're going, or perhaps the numerology of a project based upon its name to be a 6. So it's cooperative and harmonious. And that brings us to something else. There are many names that are developed only from the numerology. Some humans will change the name they are given, creating a name that adds up numerologically to a better number for them. And you might say, does that work that way? Let me tell you something. If human beings start calling you by another name, that name will contain an energy, because they're speaking it, because you changed it, because you had the intent. And yes, it works. Number 7 does mean spirituality. All things that are 7s then might have a spiritual overtone or a basis. Good numbers for altars, for other kinds of organizations, for activities where you actually talk about the things which are meaningful to you and spiritual. Number 8 is manifestation and abundance. Everybody wants an 8. And it doesn't have to necessarily be money, for you can manifest health. You can manifest life, long life. You can manifest a powerful immune system. You can be abundant in the chemistry of your body, which will keep you from having disease. So manifestation and abundance have many meanings, but they're all that which gives you things and enables you to create things in abundance. Number 9, the active number of the day, is completion. Completion can mean many things. It could mean the end of something, but it's completed, so you're done. A 9 would be graduation. You have finished the course. And the day you graduate would be a good day for a 9. It speaks of the end of something. And it can be mostly the end of paradigms, of systems. It can also be the end of sorrow. It can be the end of a certain way of thinking in society. It can be the end of an old way. The end of a project. The termination of something that existed before. Now those are the 9. And we have never defined them in this way in a channel. Now, this gets complicated. And so we're not going to go any further than telling you about the complications. First, what happens when you have numbers that sit next to each other on a page? One number affects another depending upon the energy of its number. Many numbers do not sit next to each other sequentially. You have 481, for instance. The 8, which is abundance, is affected by the 1, depending upon how long it's been there. You might even say it's a quantum numerology, because the numbers around it have influence on it. We're not going to talk about that. Each number, are you ready, has its own astrology attributes. And all of the planets are involved in the numerology, and it changes depending upon the situation, just like astrology changes minute by minute. So if you really want to see the complexity of the systems that not only identify the number and the energy of something, but then goes on to see the astrological attributes of that something, it can then redefine it and take it into paths that make it very, very specific. Those are just 2 areas we will not talk about. I want to keep this simple because I want to show you where you are. Let's start with the precession of the equinoxes. There are numbers involved. The way numerology works is that no matter how long a number is, you add it up to one number. Now there is only one exception in this simplistic numerology to that axiom. So first, no matter how long the number is, get one number. And that's the energy you're dealing with. The exception is when you have 2 numbers which are identical, which stand alone next to them. 11, 22, 33, 44, 55, all the way up to 99. These are identified as master numbers. The master numbers will have identities and energies of their own. 11, for instance, is illumination. The 22 is a strong duality. The 33 is the most compassionate number that you have. For those of you who saw 1111 on the clocks for years, it was a foretelling of illumination to come. Illumination, illumination, 1111. That's what it meant. You don't add the 1 and the 1 to get a 2. For 11 is the master number. And then you see it twice for emphasis. It foretold, dear ones, for years of the 1111 illumination shift that is upon you. Light will win. You can see now why 1111 was only on the clocks so much before the shift and not necessarily afterwards. Not many of you are seeing 1111 anymore. And if you do, it's just a reminder that you're in the shift that was foretold. Now, the odd thing about master numbers is that they're only identified to 33. What a coincidence, is it not, that this is the active number of your DNA. 44 is unknown. 55 and beyond will not be understandable. And what the Tibetans said about that is that when your DNA, they didn't say DNA, they said consciousness reaches a certain point of understanding, the master numbers past 33 can be identified. In other words, they contain concepts which are beyond your understanding at the moment, and it's not science. It's compassionate action. It's behavior that you haven't seen yet. It's mastery. It talks about mastery that you don't have yet, and so it's undefined. 33 is defined as the compassion of the master. The highest compassion that is known to exist in humanity is a 33. What did you think when the 33 miners came out of the ground in Chile? Did you know that those who reported it said there were 33s everywhere? Not just the number of the miners, the times of days when they arrived, the numbers of drilling scenarios. It went on and on. 33 was everywhere. And those who studied numerology knew what was going to happen, that they would all come out of the ground completely and totally healthy and safe, that there would be celebration and joy and tears. The compassion of the master was there. Even before the drilling began, you could see it coming. You could feel it. They're going to find him. They're going to be okay. And they were. Do you see how some numerology targets the energy of what's going to take place? The precession of the equinoxes is a 26,000-year wobble of the earth. That is an 8. Because the wobble of the earth is not. What we're talking about is what happens if you make it past the center point. It is the story of manifestation. The abundance that is manifested with that 26,000-year wobble is the earth going into graduate status, into mastery, into DNA, which is going to start to arrive at a higher rate. You're in it. You passed it. It's been manifested. That's why it's 26,000. Did you ever put these numbers together? There's no accidents here. The precession of the equinox itself, the time it takes for this wobble to change the sky as it walks through the Milky Way, is 36 years. 9. Stand by for the 9s. For the precession of the equinoxes yells 9, 9, 9, 9. It's the end of the old, the beginning of the new. 18 years into it, 9. 18 years out of it, 9. The 9s are king when it comes to the shift. And it says over and over, the old is going away. Everything you thought was the value you might have as a human is going to change, and it's going to be greater than you ever conceived it would be. The love of God is going to pour through your consciousness someday. Babies are going to be born and know who they are. There's going to be a consciousness on the planet above 44, even 55, which you will start to actually have the attributes of mastery. You might even master time, maybe even life itself. Physics will start to be that which you can manipulate. Dear ones, this is high consciousness, and you've seen it in the masters. It's going to take a long time. The ones who seeded you went through this exact same thing. They didn't have a precession. They didn't have a wobble of their planet. They had another scenario completely, but it was from the stars. And it had to do with suns that were close to them coming together in a certain way. And when they did, and they only did, in thousands of years apart, something happened and they made the shift. The same shift you did. And their consciousness started to shift and change. Their history was worse than yours. We have said this before. You think you've had marginal genocide with the wars that you've had and the sorrow that you'd suffer. They had full genocide. And yet they recovered completely from it. The ones who seeded you, dear ones, have gone through it more than you did. How long did it take them from their precession, from their shift to where they could seed you? I'm not even willing to tell you how long it is, because you'll be depressed. To think that you might have to be there as long. Dear ones, I want you to change your attitude of time. You measure time by how long you live. That's how you measure it. You look at a lifespan, and it has an energy from the number of years. What if I told you that's not accurate, because you are eternal. You will always be here. Lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and you'll start awakening in lives that are remembering while you're here. The next time you come, yes, you're coming back. Did you hear me? The next time you come, you'll awaken with the knowledge you're not going to make the mistakes you did this time. This is the old soul moving into an energy that's different. It'll be the first time you awakened in the energy after the shift. First time. And it'll be much different than when you awakened the last time. That is to say, when you were born, there was one energy of birth. And from this time forward, when you're born, there'll be another energy. You are going to know you're an old soul. You're going to have the wisdom not to make the mistakes you made this time. People will see you as different. Children are starting to shift even now. And they're going to shift so much and so fast, you'll say there's a day when all of them will be prodigies as you measure them today. It's simply growing up. Instead of being in the playground, now you're in a situation where you see each other and you enjoy each other. What happens when you grow up? This is what happens when you grow up. From 8 to 18, you come alive socially. And you're so different. That's what's happening to humanity. You won't go to war, and you won't kill another human being because you know them. They won't be mysterious. They won't be anything that you would terminate as a solution to a puzzle. And you will look back on that very thing and you'll say, that's barbaric to the max. And you'd never consider it. So far out of the consciousness of terminating any life. That's who you're going to be. The 9 that represents the whole wobble, 26 years, the manifestation culminating into the 9s that you see now, is the end of an old kind of civilization. Everything you've ever been, human being, has happened in the last 26,000 years. You've always been in the energy of the wobble as it exists now. The new wobble has begun. You see, it continues to wobble, except this wobbles differently with a brand new number. Now, the cycle of years will create that. There will be many 9s and 1s together. But we're talking about right now, a 9. It represents tremendous change as well, because anytime you wrap something up and you change a paradigm and move into something else, you'll find some emanations of a 5. perhaps yet to be seen, but you'll see it in the astrology. All this about numbers. Who are you right now that you could then look at this and make some sense of it? And I close with this. Everything that's happening numerologically right now has come to fruition and is painting a picture of new beginnings. You may sit in a puzzle right now that you do not see your way out of. And I'm going to give you some advice. You are sitting in a few days in an energy of the One that shouts to you new beginnings. Even if you are beyond that which is cheerful, even though perhaps you cannot even find the joy factor inside you, I want you to build an altar of joy, physical or mental. And I want you to go to that altar and thank Spirit for what is going to take place and is taking place in your heart, your mind, and your life. And if you do that, you will be sending a magic signal that cooperates with the planet, with the field, with the numerology of the year, and all those things. It'll see your intent, and things begin to shift. This is the beauty of a physics that knows who you are. This is the beauty of a creator who created the physics and knows who you are. You see, they're related. You get that, don't you? Everything is related to everything else. Watch for synchronicities when you start to do this. If you wallow in the old, dear ones, nothing will happen differently. Did you hear that? If you wallow in the old, nothing will happen differently. And you will continue on the same path with the same issues, going in the same direction. The altar is the altar of joy. It's the inner child inside that awakens happy. And it is innocent of the things around them that could harm them. But it's not innocence in your case, it's wisdom that can steer around them, that can actually change your own chemistry, that can build things that are going to be good for you. Extended life and the end of fear. Extended life and the end of fear. Can you believe that for you, listener? Can you believe that for you? I want you to build that altar. Do it on January 1st. Do you want to make it physical because you've got somebody with you who won't let you do it? Doesn't matter. Make it mental. Put the candles where you want them. Light them as you would, and make each one of them something special that you are achieving. But mainly, it's the joy of compassionate action on this planet. You're seeing God at work. You're seeing you at work. And things will change because numerology and the energies that are starting to occur that are similar to numerology and the field and all of that is now starting to collect into a big six. Do you remember what the six was? Tell me what the six was. Harmony. The big six is on its way. This is you in harmony with the planet. There are some new numbers you're going to see on the clock, and they will mean something to you. But they're not going to be global anymore. They're going to be just for you. You're going to start seeing numbers over and over that are just for you, and somebody else will have different numbers. Numerology is starting even to become more advanced, more intuitive. It'll tell you stories and paint pictures because it's the energy of the planet. This is who you are. Don't take this channel lightly. Oh, dear ones, because you're moving in to a new beginning from lots of nines, completing the old way. See it perhaps even going into a trash can, a rubbish bin. Don't have anything to do with it. See it as brand new. The canvas is blank. And you're going to build an altar and celebrate the joy that's coming. Could it be any clearer? As usual, these particular channels, if heard by those who have no understanding, will be laughed at, made fun of. And those who do that are not in judgment from us, because God is in them as well. There's different levels of awakening. Old souls, you've been here so long, you know how things work. That's who we're talking to. And those who don't see this, they'll have their turn. And perhaps they're just new on the planet. They're not buying into any of these things. They're just not ready. When you were children in school, and you were in the last grade of the school, the ones just entering, didn't know anything, and you knew so much. It is no different than that. There is no judgment of those who would walk away and laugh and call you names. Because your intuition and your wisdom says this is real. All of this is real. And then there are those who say, I want to be part of it. And when you say that, you cognize it, and you are part of it. Welcome to a new planet Earth, where these energies can contribute into the harmony of your life. That's it for now. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Cryon of Magnetic Service. Many listen to these channelings, and they listen for words of wisdom, they listen for energies, and many are aware that there is more here than what you expect. Every one of these channelings is given live in front of a group of light workers who have come with the intent to sit in the chair. I could talk about the world, and I often do. I could talk about the energy of the country you sit, and I often do. But what is really happening today that is changing this planet is not in the macrocosm, but the microcosm of your life. Each of you sitting here, each of you, has got a piece of the Creator inside you. It creates a beautiful quantum field around you that is sensed by other humans and even that which you call Gaia. You are a microcosm of a unique reality. You might even say you have your own planets that revolve around your life. It's a metaphor. You have that which is your own issues, your own celebrations, your own desires, your own frustrations, and you think you're alone. And yet I'm here to tell you something else. That when the Creator of the universe looks upon you and your soul, the Creator does not see the planet. it sees you. What kind of reality and intelligence could there possibly be that could see billions of souls at the same time and care about each one? Now, I want you to remember that question, because we're going to say it again when we channel again. It's a vast intelligence, more than intelligent. It's a beautiful creative system who knows you. If I said God cared about you, it would be so different than the truth. For caring is a human word, more than caring. If I said, Mother, do you care about your child? You'd say, more than that. You would say, there is no word that you can use about how I feel about my child. In any language on the planet, nobody has come up with a word that has that kind of emotion and that kind of feeling. That is you and the Creator's relationship. This microcosm called your soul in your body, that's what God sees. Not the macrocosm that you create through your actions together. No. It's who you are. Because you're family. We've talked about your systems, the energy of the planet, your timeline, all of these things. They're products of the microcosm of your consciousness, of who you are. There's a third language which we cannot really explain to you that is happening now. It happens because you're here listening. But in a multi-dimensional way, a quantum way, there is another message being broadcast that is unique for you. Each human in this new energy is invited to open a new door. It is a metaphor for using a tool that is new, that starts to be aware of the third language. Because it is a multidimensionality that does this, it requires a multidimensional listener, that's you, to receive it. If you live in a linear world, all you hear is my voice. But if you're open to quantum things in this energy, dear old soul, you can tune out this three-dimensional voice and see the beauty. Some of you will feel the emotion of it, and that's all you'll be aware of. Some of you right now, hearing this voice, need to feel a peace in every single cell that says it's okay. We know who you are. We know what you're going through. We're holding your hand, and you are okay. You need to know it, you need to feel it, and it's here for you. There is no issue within the sound of this voice which is too great for the love of God. And it's when you surround yourself with your practicality, with the intellectual mind that says, this is possible, this is not possible, here's the box I'm in, here is what I'll do. you can analyze yourself right out of the love of God. There is a place for the intellectual and logical thought in a balance with the triad of your brain, the pineal, and your heart. There's a place for all of it to balance. And this is the life force that is coming your way. The masters of the planet, all of them, were not fools. They had a sharp intellect. They had the logic of a human. And they had the intuition of the Creator. And because of this balance, those masters went down in history as known and loved, as special. And people want to emulate that which was their balance. This is the new human. This is what's coming. But much of it is here today for you to work with, get used to. But part of it is this knowledge that God looks at this earth and sees only the individual souls of this planet. There's no such thing as a group of people having an intuitive thought. It's individuals that have an intuitive thought together. It is not linear. Doesn't even begin to fit into what you expect. You can have a thought today that you came to hear without me speaking it to you. It tells you what the future may be for you, and you'll walk out with a smile because now you know it's okay. Your life is blessed and you are loved as much as any person here. You leave this place, you may roll your eyes in disbelief and laugh at it all. And I'll say it again. The same number of angels walk out with you rejoicing that you're alive, that you're here, that you mean something to the planet, and that it's no accident. Dear ones, this is not linear. It's the love of God. Absolute, beautiful, and available to all. That's the message in this short little channel. The message of Kryon will never change. And so it is.